all the cliff edges around us are maybe 30 feet taller than us. So we can't really see them at all. There's just thick, dark hemlocks. And, you being a hiker, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. When you step on hemlock, or when you're walking under hemlocks, there's all the fallen twigs. When you step on it, it makes like it almost crackles. It's very obvious footfalls. And so we hear this, coming starting on our right, going in front of us, and then going kind of around us to our back left. So it's almost circling us. And it happened probably for, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, something like that. And I'm still fishing. I'm trying to ignore it. But eventually it got so close, maybe 50 yards, where it was like too obvious to ignore. And I turn around to my friend Christian, and I'm like, dude, like, do you hear this? Because he couldn't not. And I see him already scanning the woods with his eyes, like a little panicked looking almost. And he's like, yeah, I hear that. What the heck is that? And I'm like, I guess it could be a bear, or, I don't think it's a deer. It sounds like one large animal kind of circling us. And it was like you couldn't have made it better if it was a movie scene. As we're just talking about, do you hear this? We hear clunk, and then a very audible wood knock, close too. And as both of our eyes just go wide, and we say, holy crap, we heard, that was obvious. Instantly, clunk, clunk, 2 more wood knocks. So we're like, dude, that's something very obviously hitting wood against another tree. And we know there's no people out here because there's no other vehicles on this dirt road and there's no one around us. We're in the middle of the wilderness. You heard it last night, and now we hear it again tonight. Very audible and close to us. So we said, let's get the heck out of here. At that time it was pretty much just about dark, and we were a little nervous, to say the least. So that would have concluded the second day of the counters, I guess. Day 1 being his own wood knocking experience the night before, and then that being day 2.
Okay, sure. Real quick before we move on to day 3. So those wood knocks that you heard,
Yeah.
how loud and how powerful would you say they were? And so you had the first single knock and then the 2 knocks, how many seconds do you think were between the first set, the first single and then the pair? And did those 2 knocks come from the exact same spot, or did they come from different spots?
Okay, yeah. So I would say the first knock and the second knock, they both came from the same spot. It was a very clear 1, and then maybe 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 1, 2 is how it was. Definitely from the same tree. And I would say if you were to try to replicate it with maybe like a wooden baseball bat or something like that, hitting against a large tree, maybe if you wound up and hit it like half power, so like not a full baseball swing, but maybe a half. So definitely with intent, but not with aggression, I would say.
And I mean, that's something like we couldn't do that with our hands. That's for sure. You would need
no,
something.
Definitely not. Yeah,
you would need something big to make that sound, wood on wood.
And it wasn't any kind of, of course, the difference between some sort of woodpecker or something like that. It was clear wood on wood contact by something that was able to pick up a piece of wood and hit it against. And again, it's not a human in that area. It would have been very obvious.
Now, how so we know you're way back in the woods, and Keys Mills Road is that's remote spot out there. You're out there. You're in the thick of it. And the northern Adirondacks Definitely. In particular, there is no. It's like I think the northern part of the park is the least the whole park is not popular, doesn't have a high population density, but I think it's even less in the northern part of the park. So that's remote land out there. How many miles in do you think you were from the road? Were you half a mile or 2 miles? I know you wear waders to get there.
Yeah. So from the dirt part so I guess where it turns into Blue Mountain Road.
Mm-hmm.
So from the dirt road, which is already remote enough, we were probably about close to half a mile into the woods there.
Okay, sure. And yeah, I've been
going
on that.
Going the other direction, you can go nearly 90 miles in a straight line without hitting any other road. That's just how remote it is there. It is, I believe, actually the largest open wilderness area of the entire park itself.
Mm-hmm.
There's no roads, no civilization for up to 90 miles in a straight line in some spots, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, sure. Ah, man, just hearing that just makes me go, man, the Adirondacks is a cool spot.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable how big it is. I mean,
it really is.
What is it? 4 times the size of Yellowstone National Park.
Oh yeah. I mean, no national park in the United States or in the continental United States, it can even be in the same discussion as far as size goes compared to the
No,
ADK.
a lot of people can't grasp the concept that there's that much wilderness in New York State.
Yep. And then when you go into high peaks in particular, you see how big the mountains are there and how remote and rugged that is. It's just, it's very mind blowing. It's definitely the best kept secret of the United States outdoors community.
And no phone service either. So, you can't tell anyone about it.
Yeah. Sure. So that was your second night. And it's not surprising, quite frankly, because you guys are out fishing and you found this honey hole with some big fish, out in the woods. Was it a pond or was it more of a river stream?
No, it was a little creek that kind of hit against like a sheer rock wall.
Okay. Oh yeah,
where the water pooled up. So it's just a big hole where the creek slowed down before it trickled off to the left side. So it was just a big deep rock hole there.
Wow. You guys definitely stumbled upon something out there. And you're in there's always reports of things like this happening, in particular to people fishing, and they probably like to eat fish, and you found a spot in the park that is abundant with them. So that's not remote, surprising.
Yeah.
And super remote. And it's funny because it's like people hear, oh, you're only half a mile off the dirt road, but this dirt road is 10 miles from the main road.
30, 15 miles off a highway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's always funny how half a mile off the road doesn't feel like you're remote, but when you actually stop to think about it, it's like, well, actually, I am 10, 15 miles from anywhere right now. A road is no different than a little hiking trail, if you think about it.
Especially Blue Mountain Road.
Sure. All right, so you guys got out of there. You bounced, and what was the walk back like?
A little nervous.
Sure. What was the walk back like? Were you guys talking about it? Were you kind of quiet? What was that?
We were definitely talking about it, because, especially since it happened to him the night before. He was kind of like, dude, see, I told you. And I said, oh my gosh, you're right. That was something real. That was something serious. And it was right near us and circling us in the dark or in the dusk. So it was definitely a little nerve wracking. We put it this way. We didn't walk slow.
Yeah, sure. Very cool. So something prompted you guys to go back into that area the following night. So what prompted you to go back? And let's take us through day 3.
Yeah, so this would have been the climax of the encounters, and definitely by far the scariest experience I've ever had in the woods. And again, me being in the woods almost every weekend of the year, it was for the last how many years. It was pretty intense and pretty insane. So we were checking a trail camera that we had set I maybe a week and a half prior, and this would have been the day before early bear season opened. So it's opening day eve, and we were beyond excited to get out and bear hunt, the next day and the next day after that. So this was a Friday, I believe, and we were ready to hunt Saturday and Sunday as much as we could. And we had a couple bears on trail camera, probably a few around 400 pounds. We estimated 300, 400, so good sized bears for sure. And we went to check this trail camera, had a coyote on camera, and had a good probably 350-pound bear. It was awesome with the white spot on the chest. If you ever seen that, it's a unique characteristic that some black bears get. And we were like, wow, this is awesome. Let's regroup and kind of plan out what we want to do tomorrow, where we want to hunt. At this point, it was approaching dusk, and we're like driving back now to college, driving back to campus. From the fishing spot, we were maybe another 1.25 miles further up. So in the same relative area, but not immediately next to. 1.25 miles straight line. And so on our way back, we said, hey, it's not dark yet. Why don't we make a fire and hang out? And we knew this little pull off. So up there's a lot of old logging roads. A lot of it's owned by the company International Paper, where they used to harvest trees for paper, of course. And that was like 30 years ago. So all their spots are totally overgrown now and became great habitat for wildlife. Previously logged areas that have new growth, plenty of blueberry bushes and things for bears and other wildlife. We saw many moose tracks and moose poop in that area. Just a lot of wildlife action. And so we're like, yeah, let's make a fire. We knew this little pull off that was in, I guess, a previously logged area. It was a tight little, we were in my friend Christian's Jeep. So it was a tight kind of, I don't know, 8-foot wide old pull off, which he would just plow through the young saplings with his Jeep because he didn't care. And we knew this area because it was a nice moss covered kind of clearing, maybe 40 feet across. Just kind of like a damp, swampy area, but all moss, and there's a lot of rocks there. So we knew we could make a fire pit with the rocks. And interestingly enough, maybe 3 days prior, we had dumped some geese carcasses there from the early goose season. We actually went up a little north of the school and shot a bunch of geese. Half of Paul Smith's college is actually culinary students. Or maybe not half, maybe a little less than half. But we would shoot the geese, and they would make us these unbelievable recipes. The other culinary kids we were friends with. And so these breasted out carcasses, we dumped them in the woods in this little pull-off area. And so we're like, oh, we'll check on the carcasses, just see if something touched them, and we'll make a little fire. Well, as soon as we pulled in and got out, we knew something was definitely up, because every single goose carcass was gone. We dumped, I think, probably eight geese carcasses there, and they were all gone. And not just gone, there was no remnants of them. There was not a feather on the ground, which is just mind-blowing, because it wasn't a fox then. It wasn't a coyote, raccoon, possum, fisher, marten, mink. No predator up there would have been able to eat these carcasses, take them away, and not even leave a feather. These were clearly lifted and removed. And again, not by a human, because no one knows this area. So we were like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Something grabbed them.
Sure. And no human would have any reason to remove
Definitely
these carcasses
not.
either if
Yeah,
they were out there.
Definitely not. And so we kind of said, that's pretty weird, but whatever. We weren't thinking, of course, anything Bigfoot at this time. That didn't even enter our mind. We're like, whatever, let's just make a fire and hang out. I guess something could have picked them up and left, but what's gonna pick up 8 geese carcasses and walk away with them is pretty interesting. But whatever. So we make the fire.
Sure. Before we move into that, so real quick, so you guys had these these wood knocks the night before, and now you're going back into the woods, albeit a slightly different area, but like in general,